most of us take digestion, absorption, and gut health for granted. It's like it somehow works. We don't need to pay attention until it doesn't. Until we have all these symptoms. And guess what? Society taught us that a lot of these symptoms is fine to have, like acid reflux, or having skin issues, or rashes, or snoring, or mucus, sneezing attacks, itchy skin, dry skin, eczema. All of these things are actually symptoms of imbalances in gut health, and even mental health, anxiety, depression, brain fog.
As for the audience, Ella Davar is a longevity dietitian. She's president of the Global Longevity Association and founder of the Gut Brain Method, and author of the You-tarian Diet.
Because I love to eat good food. I've struggled with dieting because, I'm supposed to like skinny and tall and look as a model, but I'm not. I'm always struggling with weight just like everyone else. I mean, yes, I struggle to be size 0 and I'm size 2, but it's a struggle too, So I've always been dieting and figuring. I tried every diet. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go and become a dietitian, an expert, because I was so confused. And now I've created this list of foods or list of rules that is all you need to know to eat for longevity.
Hey there, it's Sandee Sgarlata. Get ready to dive deep into incredible stories of people who've taken life's challenges and turned them into a roadmap to happiness. On this show, we're not just talking about overcoming obstacles. We're uncovering the real, gritty secrets to living a life filled with peace, joy, and genuine happiness. This is Happiness Solved. So let's get started, because happiness is a choice, and the choice is yours. Ella Davar, such a pleasure to have you on today. Love your beautiful smile. How's everything going?
I'm so excited to be here today. Thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. I'm thrilled because for the audience, Ella Davar is a longevity dietitian. She's president of the Global Longevity Association and founder of the Gut Brain Method, and author of the You-tarian Diet. So this is so exciting because such an important part of not only peak performance, but happiness, right? Because we've all heard that annoying statement, that little adage, you are what you eat, right?
Exactly. That's what I say.
But it's so true. I mean, how often, let's just think, here we are, today's the last day of October. This will be released probably the week before Thanksgiving. So this is timing, because this will be released probably like November 22nd. So let's talk about this for a second. You have your Thanksgiving dinner, and what happens? You eat all that stuff, and you have the food coma, and everybody's passed out like an hour after Thanksgiving dinner. Why is that? So let's talk about that, because you are what you eat. So you have that big thing.
How you open this up, because look, I became a dietitian because I love to eat good food. I've struggled with dieting because I'm supposed to like skinny and tall and look as a model, but I'm not. I'm always struggling with weight just like everyone else. I mean, yes, I struggle to be size 0 and I'm size 2, but it's a struggle too. So I've always been dieting and figuring. I tried every diet. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go and become a dietitian, an expert, because I was so confused. And my thing is, I say, and because I hate following restriction and diet rules, right? I love good food. I love eating good food and talking about it and making it and exciting others. And I said, I'm going to become a dietitian, and I'm going to figure out how to play this food game on my terms, so no one can tell me what to do. And now I've created this list of foods or list of rules that is all you need to know to eat for longevity. And when it comes to Thanksgiving, my favorite holiday of them all, because we gotta feel the gratitude for it all, for all the blessings and all the abundance that we all have. I also love what you mentioned. You kind of like stealing all my lines. You are what you eat, right? But I always say, but there's a lot of processes that go on inside our body, underneath our bellies, that contribute to this statement. This oversimplified statement is actually true. However, it's a long process in understanding of what's happening. And it's actually, it's not that difficult, but it's all in your gut. Your gut responsible for everything that happens later on with that food, when you take a bite of your favorite piece of cake or turkey or whatever, it has the potential to contribute to your microbiome, microbial makeup up inside of you. Not many people realize that after you eat the food and until you see it in the toilet bowl 24 hours later, we don't really think about it, right? We're kind of like assuming like it somehow takes care of itself inside. Who cares? Most of us take the digestion, absorption, and gut health for granted. It's like it somehow works. We don't need to pay attention until it doesn't, until we have all these symptoms. And guess what? Society taught us that a lot of these symptoms is fine to have, like acid reflux, or having skin issues, or rashes, or snoring, or mucus, sneezing attacks, itchy skin, dry skin, eczema. All of these things are actually symptoms of imbalances in gut health, and even mental health, anxiety, depression, brain fog, mood instability. All of these things are connected to gut health. But most of us, they live their whole life with acid reflux and they call it life. So most of it has become socially acceptable. So is being overweight, on obesity, and overeating socially acceptable behaviors. But as we're tapping into longevity, that's when all of it is actually plays a big role. And you realize you are in charge. You're responsible for creating the difference in your life. So let's talk about it.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So I talk about this all the time on my show, no matter what it is we're talking about, whether it's your mindset. Today we're talking about your diet. Some days we're talking about fitness. It's all up to us at the end of the day. We're responsible. And I think that a lot of times people are not willing to take responsibility for their own actions. And instead, and I'm going to throw my husband under the bus because he doesn't listen to the show. And so I can, right? But I will be nice about him. So like he's of the mindset, okay, if I eat 3 slices of pepperoni pizza, it's going to keep me up all night.
Yeah.
Okay, for some people, they'd be like, okay, so I'm not going to eat that extra slice of pepperoni pizza because it's going to cause me indigestion.
Yeah.
But then you have people like my husband who's like, just pop some Tums, and he'll get up 3 times in the middle of the night, pop in the Tums.
Yeah.
And see, for me, that's just not worth it. Like if I know that it's going to cause me some discomfort, then I will just have 1 slice of pizza and not 3, right?
Yeah.
Because there's got to be another way. And when you're taking these pills, right, that indigestion, like you said, that's a symptom of a bigger potential issue.
Yes. And some people are just programmed to just treat the symptom and then treat it again. It's almost like a short-term memory loss, like you don't really think like it actually adds up. You're doing it every other day, and that's not healing anything. It's actually creating even more problem in the long term. So yeah, the behavioral changes, and very often that's a mindset around longevity. How do people get to think about a long-term health? Very often it's when something bad happens. That's when
Mhm.
it's like a big wake up call, and that's when people like create a difference, or something bad happens to their loved ones and they realize that they're actually genetically predisposed, or they need to be, if it's a parent or a grandparent, they need to be taking care of their health seriously. They need to be there for their grandkids, right? Very often older people, they don't want to do it for themselves. I've worked with a lot of different population group, and they're like, I'm fine. I was like, well, what's important to you? And they say like, my kids, my grandkids. Like, do you want to be there for them?
That's
For your
right.
That's when they start creating difference and realize that everything they do today has the potential to contribute to what's going to happen to them in 20 years.
Yeah, and if I may just share a little bit of my own personal story, which is actually evolving. So I've had very little digestive issues my whole life. Um, like you, very, very thin my whole life because I'm an athlete until I was in my 40s, had a baby, and then I struggled with weight loss for a very long time. Ended up losing 25 pounds and have kept it off now for a solid 10 years. Um, and a lot of that was going through menopause, right? And like after my body changed and I'm fully past menopause now, like I have very little digestive issues at all. And I eat okay. I'm like you. I don't want to restrict myself because I enjoy eating food and I would rather just eat a small portion or just have a bite of the dessert instead of having the whole thing. But I tell you,
Yeah.
leading up to my birthday, this has been going on now for, let's say, about 6 weeks. And my birthday was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Turned 59. years young. Okay.
Congratulations.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to look at it that way. Like, oh my gosh, I'm still here, right?
And you're doing amazing, inspiring others.
Excuse me one second. I need a drink of water. But I started having some digestive issues for the first time in my life to this to a degree that I had never experienced. That's all I'm going to say. We don't need to get into details here. To a degree I had not experienced. And so I'm still in this phase right now where I'm eliminating foods to try to figure out what's causing this. I have a feeling it may be coffee
Yeah,
that's causing
yeah.
that all of a sudden, 40 years of drinking coffee is like, okay, we're done. No more coffee. I don't know. I'm still in that process of figuring it out.
Mhm.
But that's what you have to do. And it's not easy.
Mhm.
It's not easy, right? But I know for me, I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, my son's only 24. Yes, I want to figure this out because I don't want it to impair my life. What can people do? Because you mentioned looking at what's important, but sometimes that's not enough for people. What are some steps that people can do to kind of shift their mindset so they can look at what they're putting in their mouth from a different perspective?
Yeah, so the mindset and the way we look at things, right? So very often people don't want to change because there's no reason to change. Why change, right? So that's when I look into what's important to them, right? Is it their athletic performance? Or for some girls, it's how they look. They don't care about the health, they just care about how they look. They want to look like supermodels, right? Older population group, very often they want to have physical performance of an 18-year-old, and they want to stay youthful, young, and they want to have more energy, right, to be there for their grandkids. So it's really finding what's important to you. With that, once you had that, it's what's your why, what's your story, right? What's your why? And with that, very often what scares people is like, oh my god, I have to change all of that, I have to do all these things, this is confusing, might as well not start and don't do anything, so trying to simplify things and creating what's called success, the feeling of success, whatever this is that's give you a feeling of success that you're doing something right, is what you should be doing. For some people, it's exercise very quickly. Although, like at the beginning, when you start exercising, you feel even more tired, because it's a lot of stress, of physical stress on your body. But then once they start exercising, they actually feel better. It's like mental health, sharpness, you get things done, you're on top of your world, like, because the more you exercise, the more energy you have, and the more lean you feel. Suddenly your whole body, like, it shows up within like 5 sessions of exercise. You feel that your body is more lean, and you're like, I gotta keep going, keep doing, right? So that's one thing. For some people, it's sleep. Once you prioritize sleep, I call it as like, do it as an experiment. Do it for 14 days, 21 days. Just tell yourself that you're going to quit and you're going to go back to doing whatever you were doing, or like, start a workout, right, for 15 minutes and then stay for the whole workout of 60 minutes. Just trick your mind into experimenting. And then once you feel good, you already have that knowledge of how good it feels. Same thing with the detox, or figuring out what's the best foods. Just treat it as a detox for 14 days. Eat more vegetables, make it as a competition, and see how you feel. And very often people have more clarity, more energy, they're more regular. They're like, what's happening? Like, I guess I'm detoxing and feeling better. And then they can go back. Holidays happen, travel, the birthdays, they go back to feeling like shit by eating junk food or eating sugar. But then the knowledge of having that, like, I know how to bounce back, I know how to go
Right.
back, that's what usually happens when you figure it out and have tried things. And very often, what happens to my clients and how I changed my career from Wall Street to this, there's one dietitian that created this diet based on my body. And she's like, oh, just keep it for 3 weeks or 3 months. I forget. I kept it for the rest of my life because I never felt so good. I changed my whole career because now I do this to other people, because it was so empowering to me. There was no longer this said that, I heard that, I read that. There's all this conflicting information. She created a diet based on my body, my biomarkers. So the information came from inside out. It gave me so much peace, so much clarity. It was hard at the beginning because there's all these new foods that I had to introduce: no gluten, no dairy, no yeast, but there's all this other goodness that I could eat. And that's why now, fast forward a decade later, I wrote this book called You-tarian Diet. That's what I teach my clients. Investing time and energy and money into learning from your own body, it's priceless. It's so empowering that you're doing the right thing for you based on what your body is telling you. It's so empowering.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah, I was just about to bring up your book, so I'm glad you did. So what explain because it's Utarian. So for
Yeah.
those that are just listening this, it's YOU hyphen TARIAN. So
Yes.
Utarian, yes. So what is the Utarian diet? Can you explain a little bit?
I trademarked that word after saying so many times that I clients come to me totally confused. I don't know if you know about the trends in longevity diet. There's people that are still promoting vegan diet for longevity, and then there's people that are now promoting high animal protein diet, which is complete opposite of each other. All these top experts, gerontologists, doctors, completely confusing most of the people. They're like, who do I agree with? So that's why what I've created is something in between. It's me giving the power to people to say, don't be vegetarian, pescatarian, flexitarian, be a Utarian. Find the peace in your mind, in your heart, and in your body from getting the information and the knowledge from your own body. So it's no longer, I heard that, I read that, someone said that. It's my body is telling me, and I'm doing what's right for me, and it works for me. And I don't need to argue with other people. I don't need to learn what other people are doing. I just need to keep paying attention more to me. So at first, it's a lot of maybe like different testing and different biomarkers, and people are like, oh, that's too much information. But in reality, I'm like, no, it's all the information that you're going to use for the rest of your life, and it creates the peace that, and more of a mind body connection, that you're suddenly, your mind is no longer out there, it's connected to what's here. And that's why I said Utarian, the diet that's created for you by you.
So you mentioned biomarkers.
Yeah.
Do you recommend different places to get those? And what types of information would you uncover in a biomarker test?
It's not about places, it's more about testing. There's all these labs
Okay.
now that are super convenient, and you just have to find the ones that are legit. And that's what I've done in this book. I've gathered all the tools that you should be doing. Number one is learn about your genetics. You don't even need to do genetic testing. You could just gather information from your ancestors. What was the health of your grandparents like? And guess what? You're genetically predisposed to the disease that they've struggled with, right? So that's easy. You don't need to invest $500 in genetic tests, but you can do that. For example, I'm someone who did the genetic test, and I learned exactly what I already knew, that my grandmother died from diabetes, and I'm genetically predisposed to diabetes. That's why I've made it my life mission to master the art of low carbohydrate diet, that my insulin level at its peak, and it never loses its sensitivity, because I know that if I don't take care of myself, and as I mentioned, I love eating good food, that's what happens, because my insulin is genetically predisposed to losing its sensitivity early. Number two is blood testing, saliva testing, urine testing, to test for all of the nutrient deficiencies, to see how if your body is struggling to get something. Number three is I test the gut health. This is a root cause, and very often the reason why all these athletes and models and health coaches come to me, they already know what healthy eating is. They're already eating broccoli and cauliflower and kale and spinach, but they find themselves spinning their wheels and finding themselves with nagging symptoms such as brain fog, or low moods, or energy crashes in the afternoon, or skin issues. And what we test is gut health, and it's a lot more than just healthy eating. We test for enzymatic sufficiency. If you have enough enzymes, very often people over 40, that's when their pancreas are not able to release enough enzymes to break down proteins and fats. All these healthy avocados that they're eating, they're not even digesting them, and that's causing constipation sometimes. So we need to test for that. Other things I test for, like parasites, those impact skin health. So even myself, like 5 years ago, I diagnosed myself with parasites because I had eczema. And me, look at me, I have like perfect skin all the time. I'm so
Right.
proud of my health. And then I had eczema once and I treated with all, like, and I work with doctors, I don't need to go to the doctor. Like, they gave me all these things. I did everything that I could possibly do. And then the next month, eczema came back. I was like, I need to look at the root cause. There's no more topical application for that. And as soon as I did my my stool test, there was parasites, and I did the herbal treatments, everything for it. Never had eczema since then. And so
Interesting.
the other things that we're testing for inflammation in the gut, we test for microbes, the microbial makeup, the bad bacteria overgrowth, not enough. So we choose the right probiotics that are not, because when you're supplementing with probiotics, it's the same thing, but there's so many of them. So we have to find the ones that you actually need. So that's what the root cause of the gut health is testing. There's a lot of different biomarkers for 5 different factors. And then all the other testing. There's blood glucose managing. We're monitoring with glucose monitoring. Have you heard of those? The CGMs?
Hmm.
That's another thing that's incredible for people to look at food different. People change their relationship with food when they see how it's affecting them in real life. So it's no longer like, oh, the number on the scale that needs to change, or the LDL, your blood sugar, and your blood work. How often do you measure that? Like once a year at your doctor's office? And then,
Right.
like I said, nothing trumps the 30 minutes after effect when you just ate your favorite, I don't know, cheat meal, and then you scan it and you see it right away. You're like, what? I thought this was good for me, or like it's okay to eat that, and you see your insulin. So CGM is incredible. And then there's everything else. There's the methylation, there's the detoxification biomarkers that we measure, a lot of different things.
I love it because instead of people trying this supplement and spending all this money, because supplements, in order to get good ones, right? Because it's important to get good quality and not just anything on the shelf, number
Yeah,
one. So this way you get those biomarkers done and then you can analyze the data
yeah.
and recommend, the right protocol.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
the
love it.
first test that I mentioned for nutritional deficiencies, when we measure urine, saliva, and blood, we measure 240 different biomarkers. And we measure for antioxidants, amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, nutrients, minerals. That's all obvious.
Yeah, because these are things that your doctor is not checking for when you go
Not
to an
every
annual
doctor,
physical.
no. No.
No, I mean, I've had my general practitioner for over 30 years, and he knows me well, and he's a great guy, and I like having that long-term relationship. And he knows me well, but he doesn't ask me, well, how are you eating?
Right?
What do you eat? How often are you like, he doesn't ask me any of those questions. And I walk away after a physical and I'm going, I mean, I know I'm healthy, but I'm thinking, shouldn't a doctor be asking simple questions like this? Yeah.
Doctors
So
are not trained in nutrition, unfortunately.
no, they
They're only
don't.
trained in
No.
medication. Doctors are trained, and even the clinicians, like I have a clinical degree in nutrition. So I was trained on the disease, on cancer, on all the health conditions, that when someone's at a negative state, you help them to get to the neutral state. You help them manage the disease versus, and that's what doctors are all about. But the longevity industry is all about how to get from neutral state of getting by in life with all the symptoms to positive state when you don't have the symptoms, when you're actually thriving and going above the average, because most of the recommendations are based on average, and average is basically how not to get sick, how not to get deficiency. Most of the, even when we measure like vitamin D, it's 30 to 100. 30 is deficiency. So I, like, even my doctor 6 years ago, before I became a dietitian, I was at 32. You know what he told me? You're normal. You're within norm. I literally, I had to call. I remember because when you go to the doctor and you do the blood work, and I was in New York on Park Avenue, like it doesn't get better than that, right? Where do you
Yeah.
get better service, right? New York is like so competitive. And he's just like, oh, everything's normal, I didn't call you back. And I was like, can I actually see my results? What's in it? And then when I see it, I was like, you think this is normal? This is borderline deficiency, because it's not deficiency. I was like, oh, okay. So, but the functional medicine and the optimized, like one-on-one, the You-tarian, we always say, no, you need to be like 70 to 80 to be optimal, right? But most doctors, they're not even like, forget nutrition. They're not even looking at your status. Like if you're within norm, you're within norm, because the average, right? And guess what? Doctors don't get paid when everyone's healthy.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's their job, it's their profession, it's their business. Yeah, yeah. All right. The last thing I want to talk about, because you're the founder of the gut brain method. Can
Yeah.
you explain that? Can you dive a little bit into that?
So
I
over
love that connection,
Yeah,
that
over the
conversation.
years, working with people on different health conditions, weight loss, and gut health optimization for longevity, I've brought all of my tools that helped my clients, and some of them are mindfulness related because I'm also a yoga instructor and meditation practitioner. Very often, clients come to my office and they're so exhausted from all the struggles. They're so hard on themselves from dieting, from managing life. And after giving them everything that they think they need, all the information, the science, the protocols, all the things, I end up guiding a meditation where everyone starts crying and they say that that's what changed their lives, and changed their relationship with food. So when I've developed the gut brain method, it's an online course where I basically teach everyone how to do what I do. And it's based on science, how to optimize metabolism and gut for longevity. But it's also half of it is mindfulness based, where I teach others how to create these experiences for others, how to guide the inner child meditation or sleep meditation or relaxation or theta healing, where people able to change their behavior. Like I had a client who's a young guy struggling to lose weight, and he kept asking me, like, when I wake up at night, is it okay if I eat this, if I do this, if I and I kept telling him, like, no, this is not okay, this is better, this and that. But I was like, why are you eating at night? What like
In
this?
the middle of the night.
And
Yeah.
I keep telling him, like, this is not like, if you're awake in the middle of the night, this is not a reason to eat, or at night, and he kept saying, like, no, 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 just give me something that is okay. The nuts are okay, the egg, like the protein that's not carbs, right? And then when I guided that meditation for him, the inner child, he told me that he didn't feel safe in his childhood. And the only way he felt safe, and then when he ate alone in his bedroom, in his bed. And he kept going back, and he was like almost 30 years old. He kept going back to that behavior that made him feel safe. And I'm someone who's not afraid to talk about these things that everyone wants to avoid, this inner
Yeah.
emptiness and lack of safety. And I go there with my clients because I've healed myself through many things and able to heal that. And then suddenly this guy no longer eats at night. He's like, no, I'm good. Like I feel safe now. I'm old enough to heal my inner child. So that's just one example, but very often it's stress related, and that's why I include some of the mindfulness, some breath works that helps my clients with digestion and lowering bloating. Had a lot of great feedback on people that feel less bloated when they're just able to take 3 deep breaths before each meal. So all of that is included in the gut brain method, which is now an online course where I teach others how to do what I do, give away all the protocols, all the things that I do. And there's still one-on-one program where I still work one-on-one with VIP
Right.
clients, and we're able to create results for them based on testing with science and mindfulness techniques.
I love it. So earlier in the conversation, I mentioned that I lost 25 pounds. What I didn't mention
Yeah.
is that I knew and I realized that the reason I was holding the weight on was because I, left a 21-year marriage. Um, that was a lot of tense moments. We married young. I was 21 when I met my ex-husband. Today we have an amazing relationship, but it was not the best situation, right? It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't the best. But I knew coming into the new relationship with my now husband that I had a lot of baggage, and I didn't realize how broken I was emotionally from that 21-year, it was actually a 25-year relationship, 21-year marriage. And it was me, right? I own that. I own that, right? But he helped me to heal my heart.
Yeah.
And the weight just dropped off,
Yes.
right? Because I know women do that. So I don't always talk about that, but since it serves in this context,
Absolutely.
that a lot of women do hold on to weight
Yeah.
because we're protecting our hearts.
Yes.
So,
Exactly. That is correct. Yeah. Very often when the women come, and they
yeah.
are so hard on themselves, and I realize,
Mhm.
like, if they lose weight, they're not going to feel as strong. Their mind tells them that they need to be skinny, but their body is feeling so much stress that it's for its
Right.
survival, it's holding on to all the weight, that if you let go, you almost like let go of a layer of clothing, and then you're all naked and you feel so weak and so exposed. And
Yeah.
and then it's all in the mindset. Yeah. And if you want to create the life better for yourself, it all starts the way you view yourself in that life, in that world that you live in. So I love that you brought up this, like, healing your heart, healing some of the traumas where you're holding on to pain. And
Yeah.
once that's released, you no longer need to surround yourself with the layer of bodily
Yeah.
tissues. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Such an amazing conversation. Ella, this has been incredible. Folks, you got to check out the book. I know I'm going to. And I'll talk to you after we're done recording because I'd love to have my son get some of these tests. And it would be
It's a
really
very
beneficial
easy
for
book. It's
him.
actually a guide. It's not a
It's a
real book. It's more of a guide. So it's
it's a
very,
resource.
yeah, it's very specific. I got this issue, do this, find out this. Very hands-on. I'm actually working on my third book right now, which is more book. They don't want pictures in it. They don't want, like, my publishers, so that's more like stories and book. This one's more of a guide, very hands-on, very specific, education focused, for you to just find a solution to some of the nagging symptoms that you might be having.
I love it. Folks, check out the You-tarian Diet.
On Amazon.
And yes, and you can check out her website, gutbrainmethod.com. And all of this will be in the show notes. And yeah, check out her Gut Brain Method course as well. It sounds incredible. Thank you so much for joining me today, Ella.
Thank you, Cindy. You're the sweetest.
Oh, thank you. And thank you, everyone.